Hello and welcome to this week's Gospel with the Gibsons. Tonight is going to look a little different because you see, you guys have been telling me that you like it whenever I interview some of my nearest and dearest pals. So tonight you're in for a treat. In a little moment, you are going to meet some of my dearest friends from high school. These guys have known me since I was 11. Actually, some of them have known me for a little bit longer than that. So be prepared as we talk about friendship, we talk about faith, and we talk about what we struggled with in high school, especially as teenagers who were trying to follow Jesus. We're also going to give you some things that helped us whenever we were your age. And they are probably going to share some embarrassing stories about me. And trust me, there are a lot. So without further ado, let's go meet them. So, hi guys, welcome to Gospel of the Gibsons. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to be part of this, and thank you for being such willing volunteers. Before we get started with some of the questions, what I would love, because so they may know your face, Natalie, but they definitely have never met you, Ashley, unless I have shown an embarrassing teenage photograph that you have featured in. So what I would love, Natalie, we'll go to you first and then we'll go to Ashley. Can you just tell us who you are and how we know each other and what you do for a job or a profession right now? So Natalie, over to you.
Okay, I am Natalie Tate. I have been going to Belfast City Vineyard for just over a year, and I'm a primary school teacher. I teach P2.
That's awesome. And so actually one of the connections that our youth will have to you is the fact that your sister, Rebecca, is one of their youth leaders. So for those watching, this is Rebecca's sister, and she's pretty awesome. And so then, speaking of awesome, who are you at the bottom of my screen?
Hi, I'm Ashley. I have known Lynne since we were about 3 or 4 years old. We went to GB together, and then also went to school together. So I have lots of memories with Lynne. I go to a church. I go to Church of Ireland Church in Ballynahinch, and I work as a GP.
So Ashley, you did just mention there that we have known each other probably, it's nearing 30 years.
I know, that's scary, isn't it?
If we were to do the maths, it's probably nearing 20 years since we have known each other. And so you both have alluded to it a little bit there about how you've got a wealth of memories involving us, involving me specifically, but also like we obviously did go to school together, and Natalie, you and I have lived together actually at a time. We have. So let's just humor ourselves. Let's go down memory lane. What are some of your favorite memories of specifically? Let's hone it into school, like school memories. Like what can you remember about school and us being in school?
I have a good memory in early school. Lynne must have been maybe second, third. I don't even think it was as late as fourth year. I'm saying third year. But I think I dared you to go off boys for a year. Do you remember that? You boyfriends in like first and second year, and I said I didn't think you could make it for a year without having a boyfriend, and you did.
Did I?
Did you?
Yeah.
That's impressive. Wow. I don't even remember that. Yes, it probably would have been like it would have been third year. Yeah.
I do remember that. So I'm not sure if you guys want to know that about you, but
was that the same year that you were dared to go off chocolate for a year?
Quite possibly around that time. Yeah, I did.
That.
I know. So I didn't choose to do it again, but I did it.
You did it. Oh man. Yeah. Okay, so the reason why I have invited you guys and why I have invited other people into these recorded Zooms is because you guys went to school with each other, we went to school with each other, but we also all have a Christian faith. We all love Jesus, and I just really wanted to have some conversations over the next couple of weeks with you guys, just to find out a little bit about how school maybe shaped that, how friendship maybe shaped that, and just to see if there's anything that our teenagers, our BCD youth can learn from. And you guys, I have a lot of you guys are my actual friends. Like we have like actual WhatsApp groups and chats that are ridiculous. And we are part of a wider group of friends of whom I'm also having interviews with over the coming weeks. And so I would just love for you guys just to share with us. We'll start with you, Ashley, about your faith in school. What did you find? Like, did you find it difficult, or were you even a Christian at school? Just tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I was a Christian at school, so I probably come from primary school and into secondary school. Probably thought like maybe a bit naive. Primary school was okay for being a Christian, and then secondary school, maybe first year wasn't too bad. You wanted to sort of meet Christian friends. Then was in my form class, so I was really glad to have someone that I knew and a Christian there before I discovered other people who were. But I do remember probably hitting second, third year, and people that I would have been friendly with from form class from primary school, who maybe I never knew whether they were Christians or not, but I definitely saw them starting to veer off and do things that I wasn't happy to do, and suddenly the friendships started to separate a little bit. Some of them might have made fun of me for being a Christian, and I found that really tough because these were people that I had been friends with for a time, and sort of thought that, well, I'm still the same person. Yes, I'm a Christian and I go to SU, but I still thought that we could be friends even if I wasn't still doing the same things that they were doing at the weekend, if they were going out or partying or whatever. But so I think I find that probably one of the hardest things about being a Christian in the early days of school, certainly, because that, I suppose it was just decision time for a lot of people as to what they were going to do and what they were going to make of school and make of their lives. But I was very thankful for Christian friends in school, and I think sometimes, I don't know what all of your schools are like, but a lot of schools will have scripture union or Christian unions in them, and for me that's probably a way of discovering other Christians in your classes or in your year groups, or even older Christians in school as well that you could look up to, or see how they were living their life for God. So I was very thankful of that in school, and that led to friendships like with these girls here that I'm still friends with now. So yeah, that was probably a big positive point of being a Christian in school, certainly having an opportunity to meet and get to know other Christians in your classes.
That's awesome. Thanks, Ashley. Do you have anything to add to that, Natalie? What was faith like for you in school? Were you a Christian?
Well, I've been a Christian since I was really little, and kind of the same as Ashley. Primary school, really, there were no issues whatsoever. Kind of a lot of people in primary school classes went to my church, and if they went to my church, they also went to my Sunday school, so they were in my Sunday school class. I think it was the transition of going into high school was a little bit more tricky. I wasn't in your form class, so whenever we all went to Down High, I found that there was only 2 boys from my primary school class in my form class, and I had to then make some new friends, and I find that a little bit more tricky. Not because of anything they were doing. I think it was just the starting from scratch bit again, and you get to know people, especially initially for the first few months, on like a completely superficial level. It's just kind of, what things do you like, all of that. And then especially whenever I was younger, I was really into sports, so the whole scripture union that was in our school, it was on the same afternoon as hockey. So I was like, well, I'm on the hockey team, I have to go to hockey practice. So I wasn't able to, go to SU and actually start to get to maybe know some more Christians within school itself. But thankfully that changed by, I think it was second and third year. Hockey was on a different afternoon for those year groups, and I was able to start to go to SU and get to know other people. And then we had weekends as well, which were fab because they were so much fun, and you got to meet and actually spend more kind of quality time of like a full weekend with people from other form classes. And that really helped, because within school, you're stuck, not that you're stuck with them, but you're with your year group, especially the third year, all the time. You're not mixing classes, and you're just with those people. And by second and third year, I'd started to work out, well, a few of them were Christians, you go to church and you're involved in different things, and that was great. So you kind of felt you had a little bit of a spiritual bond with those people. But there, as far as I'm aware, there weren't too many actually within my form class, and we'd all come from different backgrounds as well, which transition to high school is much more tricky because you have to suss all that out.
Yeah, some of the people watching this will be in P7 and they're about to make the transition into high school, and one of the things that I have just tied knots with, we all went to separate primary schools, and we found our friendship in high school, and actually that has been a lasting friendship right through uni into adulthood. And although, you know, we would have known each other in different contexts, maybe outside of a school, school was actually the reason why we're friends now. So that is something for our P7s and our year 8s, just to really hopefully that's encouraging for you, that if you're nervous about going to a school maybe that your other your primary school friends aren't going to, that there is real opportunities in first year, and your school and your teacher. I remember our school making it like really easy and providing loads of opportunities for us to intermingle and build friendships. Natalie, what about you? Was there anything that you'd like to add? Of what one thing, if you like, that really helped you in your faith that perhaps was outside of school?
I think for me, outside of sort of like SU, I found that we didn't have JYC, which Ashley and you went to. It seemed to stop as soon as you finished primary school for us. Where I lived, it hadn't been developed yet. I just found that my family were a really big influence for me. You know, coming from a complete Christian background, both my parents, especially my dad, which you know all about, Lynne, because you used to ask him the tough questions. You know, just even the encouragement of taking us to Sunday school and church and Bible class, and then starting up like a youth club, and then a Sunday night youth fellowship.
Yeah.
Those things were absent in my church, but because parents like my dad saw the need for them to develop us spiritually, you know, those were the influences that really kept me strong as a teenager.
Just as you've mentioned your dad, one of my favourite memories of you is a Wednesday after school. I would have came over to your house to revise and we would have walked One Tree Hill. I would have insisted that your mum made lemon meringue pie and made me risotto, because my mum never made risotto, but you made risotto. And I would have eaten risotto, lemon meringue pie, and sat with your dad being like, right, here's a question about the Bible. Here's a question about Christianity. And I literally would have fired all these questions. And he just would have been able to go, well, and this is the answer to it. And I can remember that being my highlight, was asking Ivan all these amazing questions about the Bible he just seemed to be like this wise owl that I could ask anything to, and I loved that. I loved asking, and I did ask. I can remember some of the questions now that I would have asked him, and like, bless him, he had the patience of a saint. I was a real questioner in my teenage years, and that is something I'm very thankful for, that I did have that questioning thing, because it meant that my ownership of my faith grew. And grew at an early age. Okay, so lastly, I would love to ask both of you guys, what advice, if you were to like speak to 14-year-old Ashley or 14-year-old Natalie, if you were to go back in time, what advice would you give your 14-year-old self? Natalie, we'll go to you first.
14-year-old Natalie, I think just make sure that you're involved in something, okay? Doesn't really matter what it is, whether it's SU in school or church or camps, just make sure that there is something that you're involved in, because through one of those things, it will develop relationships with other Christians that you might not have within your class. And it lets you realize, you know what, you're not alone.
Ashley?
I would probably say try not to worry so much, and probably be a little bit more confident about things. I'm still a bit of a worrier and still love to know what's happening next and have a plan and be a bit more in control. And if anything, actually lockdown and everything with coronavirus has probably thrown a lot of things for me out the window, and have just led me to trust God a lot more in the whole, you know, God's timing and God's plan, and you know, God being in ultimate control. I am not. I think I probably needed, or could have needed, to hear that as a teenager sometimes too, that I like to worry about things, and not that I like to worry, I often worried about things and sometimes forgot to surrender control of that to God. Nothing that you're going through, don't ever let anybody belittle the problems that you have as a teenager. Don't ever feel that they are not important, because they are, and they're important to God. So I think that's the other thing. Don't you wrestle and worry with them, but pray and leave them with God, and talk to God about silly things that if they may seem silly to you, like who it is you fancy or what's the subjects to pick for GCSEs, or not being able to cope with schoolwork or whether to go to hockey or netball or whatever, those kind of decisions, they're not trivial to you and they're not trivial to God.
Guys, thank you so much for taking time here to just share little thoughts. I have absolutely loved going down memory lane, and I know that our guys will have loved hearing a little bit about your stories. And they will really have been encouraged by just how faith has impacted how you have grown up as adults, and also the importance of friendship and the importance of church, and the importance of linking into what school has for them in regards to like scripture union, etc., etc. So thanks so much for taking time out from your day, and yeah, we'll see you soon. So that was a trip down memory lane for me, and although I'm scundered at some of the stories that they decided to share about me, I hope it was encouraging for you guys to know that the struggles and the things that you find hard at school are shared by people who have been at school before you. And guys, I can speak on behalf of our youth leaders. We love you dearly. We want to help you. We want to support you. And so if there's anything you're finding hard, tough, don't even worry if it's silly. It's not silly. If it's important to you, if it's bothering you, it's bothering us, and we want to help. So guys, please do not be afraid to reach out, because we are here to support you. Reach out to youth leaders, to your neighbours, to a parent, to an older sibling, whoever you trust, because we are here and we want to support you and we want to help you. So I asked my special guests what advice they would give to 14-year-old them. And this leads us to the challenge that I would like to give to you guys for the next couple of weeks. What advice would you give 30-year-old you? What hopes, dreams and desires do you have for future you? We're going to put some questions in our group chats that you can consider. And what we would love for you to do is for you to write down or record on a device like this some of your hopes, desires and dreams for the future. They don't have to be big things, but they don't necessarily need to be small things. But as you do it, treat it as a worship practice to God. Treat it as a prayer. And as you do it, just picture yourself handing over your future to God, knowing that He is in control and He is with us every step of the way. Guys, thanks so much for tuning in. Next week we will have another very special guest who will have another very embarrassing story about me. So you probably don't want to miss that. We'll see you then. Bye.